I really wanted to just see what is going on with this best damn EDC, um, the best damn EDC, and they say, I guess is Benchmade mad at him? I don't know. It's something that I want to see. I'm gonna race NASCAR while I do it. Do a little bit of transformative work for you here, Taylor. So I saw this video says I am big trouble. Am I in big trouble with Benchmade? Now, before we get started, I guess just to talk about like how things work with Benchmade. I don't know how every creator works. I can tell you how it works for me. I get free shit from Benchmade. In this video, in the video before this, Taylor clearly discloses that he gets free shit from Benchmade. And if you're wondering, this game is NASCAR Heat 5, and I'm really bad at it. So you guys could just watch me be really bad at it. But so this one here is, I guess he did a torture test versus the Ozark Trail's Walmart knife. And it was, just to say the least, I thought it was an interesting video. I did. I do think that some of the tests you would never do, but who cares? Do them, right? And maybe Benchmade was not happy with, my guess is going to be the fact that they are not happy with torturing the knife in an impractical way. But I don't know if they will reach out to you for that, because I've talked bad about their knives and they've never reached out to me for just talking bad about their knives, ever. They've never reached out to me for talking bad about their knives, or my research on their company, or talking about their lawsuit with Montana Knife Company. They've never, no, I had to reach out to them to try to get an interview for the lawsuit. So maybe they're upset with, well, I guess we'll just see. I guess we'll just see what the whole deal is. Guess we would just see what the whole deal is to see why so it's that way. So let us see what we got going on here real quick. Oh man, so
we should talk. I would actually want to have kind of an open conversation.
Open conversations are always the best. They're always the best. I think that the fact that this video is coming just a few days after making the main video itself, like, leads me to believe that they weren't the biggest fan of it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, less than 7 days ago, he put out the video, and now he's coming out, I'm in big trouble with Benchmade. I don't know.
I invite you to go into the comments and continue the conversation. We made a video last week.
Well, I'll go in the comments, but I also just want to do a whole live react. Okay. Here's one thing I saw about this video. Like, okay, he was doing these drop tests here. And one thing I noticed is, like, he's just going balls to the wall, dropping these things. I don't know if those boots, and I think I've seen him talk about his EDC boots before. I don't know if those boots had steel toe on them. Like, is he kind of just winging it? Like, I don't know.
It was polarizing. I don't even know if polarizing is the right word.
Well, polarizing is easy, because one thing I would say about Benchmade in YouTube is that if you watch YouTube videos, you will be led to believe that everybody and their mom hates Benchmade. And I don't think that that is a declarative statement that can be true. I think that a lot of people, the vocal minority who comment on YouTube videos, don't like Benchmade, and people who do videos may not like Benchmade. Overwhelmingly, I think more like them than not. But if you were to ask just Joe Smo, a household name, about, you know, I qualified 40th, trash. But, you know, if you were to ask Joe Smo a household name in regards to Benchmade, they have like great comment. They have great things that they think about it. And so I don't know if the polarizing comments are people just like mad at Benchmade or what. Like, which one would they be?
Because you guys were mad. And
I mean, look at this thing. Like, he literally has this thing in half. I think at the very end he snapped it. And he snapped. I see his Hogue Deca back there. One thing him and I can agree on is I love me some Hogue Deca. Like, if you want to go with an American-made goodness, which one would it be for me? Yeah, it would probably be the Hogue Deca. Okay. It would probably be the Hogue Deca. I'm a big fan of it. I think that they go for the tactical bros, but like, who cares? I think they still are pumping out a good product. And yeah, I need to get some of the like upgraded scales that he has though.
In the comments, not necessarily at me, some of you, I'm sure, but just you.
No, it was not just some. There was a lot of folks who were shitting on the testing overall. They just weren't a big fan of the testing. They weren't a big fan of just they felt like it was needless. And I mentioned earlier that I could understand the concept of doing the tests and having a good time doing the tests. And like, what's wrong with that? It's the same concept when I test out a sling bag or a knife hardcore for 2 weeks and then do a review. Right? I'm about to do a review on a sling bag that I've been testing. It's going to be like less than 3 weeks of testing before I pump out a video. And argue to say for that company would be like, well, how realistic is that you you test out our bag for a couple of weeks and you pump out a video? It kind of
You guys were fired up. The most popular video on this channel has 1.5 million.
1.5 million. Sir, those goddamn numbers. I love it. Racing in Atlanta, just FYI. I'm not good at this. I don't know if I need to tandem or not. I don't think I need to do a buddy system, but let's just see if I can get on that ass.
Views. And it has fewer comments than the video from last week,
and I can believe that because the video last week is polarizing because it involved Benchmade. It involves torture testing. I think there was a lot of safety concerns for you, sir. We want to make sure you keep all your phalanges and the only set of eyes that you were blessed with upon birth.
Which has 128 at this
fucking Logano
point right now. The comments, some of them were they were comments. And I'm not here.
I mean, like, I saw the one in the middle there that they would avoid Benchmade at all costs, and a knife that cost $180. There's just no way that it should be snapping in half like this. And I'm ready to argue the market pricing for both Benchmade and Spyderco and Hogue and everybody else that makes knives in America, and why just because those prices are up there doesn't mean it's necessarily not reasonable.
Here to like defend myself. That's not what I want to do with this.
But it does. I mean, to make a whole video, it does kind of feel like you're defending yourself, bro. Like, if I had a company pissed at me, unless I was about to burn the relationship, there's no way I'm making a video. For me personally, unless there's a wrong that I did, I only say sorry to 2 people. That is my wife and my mom. And I only apologize when I feel like I've done something like truly just egregious or wrong or something like that. And I don't know if that's the case for this one particularly.
I want to have an open conversation about the video from last week because we want to continue doing videos like this. So to just preface all of this, we made a video last year. We did a torture test on the NAF's lander, which I thought is probably about the best.
I saw that torture test. It seemed like a lot of tests. First off, the NAF's lander, Ben Peterson designed. You're personal friends with Ben Peterson. He probably knew about the video beforehand, and even if he didn't know about the video beforehand, I think for him, he's such just a smooth and happy guy. I would imagine that all press is good press for him. Well, I don't know about Benchmade.
That's $50 knife out there, and it did okay. It did fine, but I think we overthought that video.
I'll reel him in real quick.
I think we went a little bit too far into planning and editing.
Reel him in real quick.
Especially, we edited that video for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Let me tell you, I'm a one-man band, okay? There is fucking Logano. There is no way that I can edit a video for 3 weeks and it be anything. There's no way that I can edit a video for 3 weeks and I'm able to pump out other content. There's just no way that's going to happen. I'm trying to imagine, like, what's the longest video I've edited on this channel? Maybe 3-4 days. I'm talking about like a lot of vlog footage, a lot of just different footage overall. It's just, I don't know. So to have that NAS video be that long, I think everybody would expect every single video to have that type of expectation. And so I can get why you may not want to do that. Like, I can understand that.
Which is crazy. That's more time editing than we've ever spent on another video. I think that actually kind of screwed us because after that video, we wanted to do another one. We purchased some more knives to do that too. I bought an Zahn, a Hinderer.
I can never say the Zahn, Zahn. I'm assuming it has to do with South African culture, right? Chris Reeve being from South Africa, him being a part of the army there. Is the Umamzan name have to do with South African culture? I don't know.
and a few others that we bought explicitly to torture test.
It's pretty disgusting that you bought a Zon in order to torture test when there's like a 5-year waiting list. If you want to buy it directly from Chris Reeve, and if you want to buy directly from Chris Reeve, there's like a 5-year waiting, 5-year waiting list or something like that. Let's do 4 tires this time. I don't know. Like, did you buy it third party? Did you buy it on like Blade Binge? Did you get it on eBay? It just feels a little disgusting that you. I know folks are waiting for that a lot, and you're about to buy it and torture test it. But if you got it like that, bro, you got it like that. I understand.
We even have the scripts written out. It's been over a year, and we kept kicking the can down the road because we wanted to do it right and be somewhat scientific about it. We just wanted to do it right, and we just.
That's another thing is I agree with him. I don't have like full scripts, but I do have bullet points I have down for videos. I do pretty often. And it's a lot of like just, making sure I hit this point, make sure I hit that point. And a lot of times so for instance, I got some videos I got to pump out in the next few days. Some of it is paid sponsors. Some of it is just company sent me gear, and I pinky promised to do a video on the days that these items release. And I oftentimes want to make sure I get facts right. So those are easy videos for me to hold myself to. But the stuff that you're doing with the torture testing is just stuff that you're doing on your own. I can understand the reservations of wanting to wait, especially if you want to make sure that you're trying to get your test to be more scientific. Like Joe X, love his channel, his testing, like the most non-scientific test ever.
Just got way too deep into the weeds. So this opportunity presented itself to us.
I mean, look at that freaking knife, bro. Look at it. Snapped in half. And I will say this, when you snapped in half at the end of the video, I think you were not wearing safety gear or something like that, bro. You're braver than I.
And we ran with it. We got this Ozark Trail knife at Walmart a few weeks.
I don't want to get any, but every time I go to Walmart, I go up there on my one wheel or whatever. I'll just kind of take a peek and see, do they have any Ozark Trail knives or any of their multi-tools or any of the other 6 knives I think that they've released, or Swiss Tech knives. Swiss Tech's always available, but because of, I think, of his video and a lot of other videos, those things are sold out.
Weeks prior to showcase all the new knives at Walmart. It was really just to show that Walmart is stepping up its game. The Swiss Tech knives are really nice for the money, but this knife.
Yeah, I do like goddamn, you had all of them. Pretty, you send Pretty Ricky out there to get those, bro, or you stop by and get that stuff? I don't know, man.
This knife was the standout from that video because it's so impressive. It's $10.
It's not I don't know about impressive. Impressive's your opinion. I would say I can understand why people think it's impressive. I think it's a standout because it's so cloney. That's why it stands out. I mean, there's plenty of Benchmade clones on Amazon. I've done a video on Benchmade clones. There's a difference between clones and counterfeits. The Ozark Trail is clearly a clone. They're not trying to purport themselves to be a Benchmade bug out. They don't even have their literature listed that way. They don't use the word axis lock. They just freaking cloned it, okay? That's why it's so popular. Is you don't very often talk about clones on your channel. You showed a knife that is clearly a Benchmade clone, and it is a freaking meme. Everybody and their mom's talking about it.
And that still just doesn't register for me. And since those 2 videos, if you look back to when we made.
Okay, so he made the video. Wait, he made the video August 24th. Okay, so I see when he made the video. Got it.
The first video and like Google Trends, this knife blew up after that and they're gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, freaking great content like that. I can understand that. Hold on, let me see. The hatred for Benchmade because I can barely see it, my bad. The hatred for Benchmade because of the nuttancy and the Wrangler Star opinions. Buying a few and forming my own opinion. I love that. Yeah, I can see that. Why would anyone accuse him of getting paid by Benchmade to make that video? I just want a lender. Is that what people accused him of? People accused him of getting paid by Benchmade to make that video? I can't imagine that a company would pay him to snap a freaking knife. And a lot of times when we have these sponsorships, it depends on the company. They require you to send the video over for like approval before you release it. I'm going to talk about my ethics statement and why I don't. There's very few times I let companies do that, but I can tell you this: if the if a company wanted me to send it over for like a straight up approval before they pay me my moolah, and it was to like tell me to delete or remove content, I wouldn't do a sponsorship like that. I don't think he would do one like that either. So I can imagine that his Benchmade torture test video was not paid. That's what people are going to always say that, but I just don't imagine that they paid him to not only destroy the knife, but at the very end, I think he said buy a Hogue. I don't think that would happen.
You can't buy them anywhere. They may come back in stock. I don't know. Historically, they have not. When Ozark Trail releases a knife that's popular, they sell out and then move on to another one. Hopefully they bring this back, because I do think this is a good knife for the money. That's a very, very...
I think they're going to bring it back. I mean, I've seen people, Ozark Trail. So I did they had a $6 knife that was almost meme worthy. I think if you would have did a video about it, Taylor, it would have became meme worthy, because we got to get it on that level. But I did a video about it. I replaced my Benchmade bug out for, I think 2 weeks with the $6 Ozark Trail knife. But it was fine. You know, it was fine. So I think that it just depends. Hold on, wait, did I lose it? Exit race. So I think it just depends on, you know, of overall, like how people feel about it, and is it going to be something that's worth doing or whatever. I think the race froze, so I got to start it over again. So for me personally, Ozark Trail is going to bring this back out. Walmart's going to bring this back out. I think that Walmart has a plan, because they're starting to sell Civivi online, and I keep hearing that maybe Civivi is going to be brought into store. They're selling Swiss Tech, and they're improving that. Swiss Tech still sells on their own website, but they mostly sell at Walmart. And then you got Ozark Trail, and then every now and, you know, so I think that they're trying to build a good, better, best. I think the good will be the Ozark Trail, the better will be Swiss Tech, and the best will be Civivi, even though that's not how it is in real life, right? Civivi's, you know, whatever. But I think that's kind of what they're going for when it comes to that. So it kind of sucks that I don't know what happened with my Xbox. It just froze in the middle of the race. So, you know.
Very important qualifier. But this situation, a bug out and a knockoff for $10.
Says, I'm under the impression that people get mad at the second video for basically apologizing for exposing Benchmade, not necessarily the actual torture test itself. Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
An 18th of the price presented itself to us, and we ran with it. So we shot this video pretty much off the cuff. Very little planning. Everything we did for this video was basically...
Man, my paint scheme is just so trash. Liberty University. That's the only one I can get my hands on. It was just I don't know. I want to get better sponsors. Okay, I'm trying.
Just planned from the NAFS lander.
I don't ever see some of these torture tests I liked, because in a pinch, I would do stupid shit like he showed, right? I would never cut the top of a can, maybe in a survival situation. But sometimes, if I'm just bored, I'll cut an aluminum can in half with my knife just to shoot the shit. I've done that before. Doesn't mean I should do it, but I've done it
Took
before.
all that stuff, and from our preparinator.
I don't like Joey Logano. Like, I want to crash him right now, but I need to focus on the race.
That we've done at Blade Show a few times.
Okay, now cutting up what is that? Tinder or kindling, whatever the hell you're making. I could see stuff like that.
And we had applied it to testing two knives against each other and ran. There wasn't a lot of thinking about it. There wasn't a lot of planning. We just did it. And in the moment, I mean, there was stuff we did outside.
And that's the only thing. You're not purporting to be, okay, so what's that freaking, is it Dr. Loran? He tests like blade steel. He tested CJRBs and artisan cutlery blade steel. He tests other people's blade steel to see the makeup of it at the molecular level and see how well it's made. Taylor Martin's not purporting to do that stuff. He's just torture testing. He's not saying that it's scientific. He's not saying that therefore don't buy it. He's not saying any of that stuff. He's just saying, if it can pass my torture test, maybe you should get it. Maybe you should.
Outside in the parking lot here that we had not planned.
That's the test right there. Dropping it near his boots. Bro, let me tell you something. Taylor, you looking buff, bro. You've been hitting them goddamn curls, sir.
And on at all. Like me throwing the knives up in the air open. That wasn't smart, but we...
Yeah. Now that's just like y'all are sitting outside and Pretty Ricky was probably like, hey, let's go over there to those rocks.
We did it and it was fun. And that was the thing. We had more fun making this video. I did, at least. I can't speak for Ricky, but I had more fun shooting this video than I have pretty much any other video on this channel.
Let me tell you something. I am, me and my family are the black family in this neighborhood. Okay. I don't have a facility or building where I go shoot videos. It's done in my garage that I've named the Mantuary or the man cave. And if I was in the front of my house or in the, down the street on the trail where there's people walking by throwing knives in midair with dreadlocks and black skin with a camera, somebody might call the police. There's a slight possibility. Okay.
We've had some real fun here, but this was so much fun. So we want to do more like this in the future. And that's why I want to have a little bit of an open discussion about this, what our plans are, like how we plan to be a little bit more transparent.
I'm very bad at the green flag, but I can do a long run like a champ.
About what happened and even showcase the results a little bit better than we did, so there's a little bit less confusion, because the comments are obviously a little bit mad about a few things.
Yeah, mostly mad about the fact that Benchmade's $180 now, starting price for the bug out. And I guess back in 2017, you can pre-order them for like $115, I think. I saw Gideon's tactical video on his Benchmade bug out when he got it. He said he got it on pre-order for like hold it. I think he said he got it for like I think he said he spent 120 on it, 115. Yeah, let's pit. That was bad. That was bad. Let's do no fuel. Let's do all tires. So it just really depends. I think that the people commented about that. They also commented about the fact that you were doing the test overall and how some of it realistic. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of just depends. It just really depends.
And I want to address that. I'm not here to defend. I just want to shed some light and have a real conversation.
I don't know. Video. Listen, I like I said, I like the video, but you created a whole video, and I don't. What do they say? You don't clean up the house if you don't expect guests. Okay, you don't film a video after you recently did a torture test video, unless it's. I mean, just my opinion. I think you're projecting. I think you are defending a little bit, but that's just my opinion.
With you guys, because I've always preferred clarity and
also scrolling down. If I scroll down in this video and you say I'm just trying to have a conversation with you guys and you're not replying to a ton of comments, then you're just defending, okay? Because when you say I'm here to have a conversation with you guys and it's not a live stream, right? You're just talking to the camera, posting the video. Either you're just in the comments like crazy, having a conversation, get off my bumper, sir. Or, it's a live stream, you're having a conversation or whatever. So that's why I lean closer towards defense, closer towards defending yourself versus just straight up and down wanting to do a feed. Is this like a feedback video? Is this like some people call it like a cool down? I don't know. And then is there a history on your channel? I will have to go back and listen. Have you ever done like a follow-up video to like something you recently did? I don't think I've seen that before either.
Candor? Is that the word?
Honestly?
No, candor's when you have a lack of candor, that means you're lying. So you're not looking for candor, but I get what you're saying.
Honesty? Candor?
Sure.
Whatever. I want to be honest with you guys.
There you go. You're what you're trying to say is you don't want to have a lack of candor. So when you say whenever someone's accused of having a lack of candor, it's a very nice way of saying that they were lying.
I'm real. I'm a real human being. And it didn't even leave a sour taste in my mouth. I'm very happy with the video. But
I don't know. I mean, there's a video here, sir. Normally, like I say, it's a reason to produce the content. And the video may not leave a sour taste, but I think your conversation with Benchmade was either left a sour taste in your mouth, I guess I'm about to find out here in a second, or a bridge was about to get burned. God damn it. One of those two had to be going down. So
but I just want to clear the air a little bit and talk about a few things. So let's start with the elephant in the room. How much Benchmade paid me to make this video?
That's what I want to know. Because I don't think they paid you anything. I don't think first off, I like the new set. I do like the new set, but I wouldn't stand in front of that. That wall's like grayish black, and YouTube punishes videos that are in front of grayish black walls that are not lit. And you have a lot of banding behind you. Pretty Ricky, you're going to know what I'm talking about because I know you're going to go back and watch this content and go tell Taylor. So there's a lot of banding going on behind him on that wall. So either light the wall or puts an object on a wall or something, YouTube is punishing this content when it comes to banding. Editor, get on that.
A whole lot
If you're not rubbing, you're not racing.
of nothing. It's preposterous to think that Benchmade paid us to make that video.
Oh, wow.
This video looks very bad for Benchmade. They made an EDC knife, which, to be fair, is one of the most popular modern knives right now. But I broke it in half by hand. And let me tell you, if anybody sponsors me to do something, there is zero chance that I could publish me snapping their knife in hand or by hand. Like, that's not going to happen.
Not necessarily. Okay, listen, it depends. Let's just be real about sponsorships, okay? There's different, oh my God, not paying attention. There's different levels of sponsorships, okay? For instance, I have channel sponsor Aura, who handles like stuff like they have a VPN and they monitor to see if your name's on the dark web, and they also will monitor your bank accounts, and they do all type of stuff like that. Whenever I do a sponsor video with Aura, they just want to make sure that I'm doing stuff legally. Like I disclose that they sponsored the video, that, you know, that I'm not doing stuff I'm not supposed to do when it comes to legally with the FTC. They don't care what I do in the content. They don't, actually they do care. The only content they don't want to be involved with is like if I'm smoking drugs or something like that, right? They're not interested in, they don't care if I do gun content. They don't care if I do knife content. They don't care. So to your point, if I snapped the Benchmade bug out in half and the sponsor was Aura, they wouldn't care. What I think you're saying is if Benchmade sent you the new bug out to review or to do an overview or to do a comparison, if the end of the video was you snapping it in half, where I think what you're saying is it wouldn't get approved because that's not why they sent it to you. And maybe you were breaching the handshake agreement they sent to you, whether it's the email or the phone call. And that's why, you know, that's why that video wouldn't get approved. But I would like a little bit more clarity on that.
Kind of made them mad. They knew that we were doing this.
Okay, so you said it kind of made them mad. And here's the thing, though, because I remember in your video, you said you reached out to Benchmade for the knife. That's an issue I have, Taylor. Okay, I don't know if you're going to address that here. However, there's a couple of ways I get products. Most of the time, the companies find me, they email me, they say, hey, we want to send you a product. And I say yay or nay. That's how it normally goes, okay? With you reaching out to Benchmade for them to send you the knife, and then you choose to torture test it, did you tell them beforehand that's what the intent of them sending you the bug out was for? Or which one is it? Like, that's one thing I'm curious about. Hold on, let me see something.
Not gonna happen. Me snapping their knife in hand or by hand, like that's not gonna happen. This kind of made them mad. They knew that we were doing this. We asked specifically for a plain Jane bug out to test against the Ozark Trail.
Okay, now that's what I want to know a little bit more information about. Okay. You said you asked for a plain Jane bug out to test against the Ozark Trail. Did they know you were torture testing? Or are you saying that they knew you were doing this because they should be watching your channel? Which one is it? Because for instance, I've reached out to Benchmade. I've had Benchmade send me knives before, and I've told them clearly, hey, I have this vision in my head. I'm thinking about doing this type of content. What do you think? Sometimes they're like, no, we don't want our knife in that content. We'll give you a military discount, right? I'm just saying. So I think that I would like to know more about what you told them. So if you don't dive more into that, then that's being too cute by half, in my opinion.
They didn't really, I don't think they knew about this knife when we asked. They found out.
So that's a question I have. See, okay, so a question I have is, you said you reached out to them to test against the Ozark Trail. You said that they didn't know about this knife when you reached out. So how can you say you reached out to them to test about I guess the follow-up question they asked you is like, which Ozark Trail, or what are you talking about? I guess that's what you're about to say, because those two things are kind of contradictory.
When we asked that.
Okay, so they found out when you asked. Gotcha.
That this knife existed, and yeah, they're not too thrilled about somebody copying their design. It's a pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Benchmade's a litigious company. All right, they don't play around. They're a litigious company when it comes to their trademarks and patents. They don't play around. They will sue your ass. Okay. But I think that they have gone away from suing clone companies unless you reach like a god tier level. They definitely will come. If you counterfeit them, oh, they're coming for the throat. They're coming for the throat, which they should. They should. I mean, you shouldn't be purporting yourself to be a Benchmade bug out. Everybody and their mom now is trying to do the Benchmade bug out shape, and they're trying to do their own version of a crossbar lock that they want a cute, almost name and access lock, and all that type of stuff. But if you're clones and counterfeits, two different things.
Close copy. But they weren't happy that I took the knife and snapped it in half.
Is that the part they didn't like? See, that's what I want to know. So they knew you were torture testing, but they didn't know you were going to snap it in half. Is that what they didn't know? Because here's the thing. If you send a knife to someone to torture test, there is a possibility it's going to fail. So if you told them you were torture testing it and all you were doing was pulling staples and cutting cans, it still could have failed and snapped in half. I don't know how it could have. So I want to know, what did you tell them per se when you said test out versus Ozark Trail? Did
Why
they
would
think
they
you were
be?
doing like a run-of-the-mill cutting cardboard test or what? Like, which one did you kind of think it was? Right front 61%, back right. I think I want to roll the dice. Actually, I'm gonna pit. We're gonna take 2 tires and we'll take 1 can of gas, or half a can of gas. So that's what I want to know. Is like, what was the conversation with that overall?
They weren't happy about a lot of things, but I had a great conversation with Benchmade after that video. And I explained to them that we knew that they wouldn't be happy about this when we made it.
Okay, if you knew they weren't going to be happy about it when you made it, did you tell them that's what you were doing before you made it? Number one. And is this video starting to slowly turn into a not burn bridge video? A little bit. I don't know. That's just my feeling. That's just my opinion. Okay. I'm wondering.
Ricky and I went back and forth about whether we should even reach out to Benchmade or if we should just go buy one.
You should go buy one. If there's a possibility of burning a bridge over the torture testing, which is non-scientific, on a channel that has, what are you at, 300 and almost 400,000 subscribers? They're not dead subscribers. Like, people, the content's being watched, people are checking it out, and you're reaching out to them, and I would assume in good faith, for a free knife, which is almost $200, and including shipping and man hours, it is $200 for the guy to throw it in a box. That guy just blew a tire. Or for whatever the case may be, I think you should have just went out and spent the money. I think you should have went out and spent the money, because to do this, I think it would have been a different surprise for them to be like, oh, well, he has a Benchmade bug out and you did the test, versus you sent them sending it out to you putting it through all those paces.
Because we figured that they wouldn't like us destroying one and showing how it fared against a $10 knife.
Okay, if you figured that, a question I have, a fair question, it's just a really fair question. If you figured they wouldn't like you comparing it versus a $10 knife and destroying it, and you just bought a Zon to destroy, why didn't you spend 20% of the cost of Zon to buy a Benchmade bug out?
Figured it would probably not go that well for Benchmade, just because this has full liners and there's a lot of things about this that...
Okay, but the bug out has integrated liners. As I understand they're not apples to apples comparison, but I just think that I'm still kind of on the point. I think you should have bought it.
Make it a little more robust, which makes this one look worse. But there's a lot of other stuff at play here. So yeah, Benchmade wasn't happy, but that's totally fine. The conversation I had with them was, I'm going to have to make decisions and do things on camera, especially if we start testing things that are going to make you and other companies upset. That's a stance I have to take. I'm willing to make you guys upset because I want to get real information out there.
Did you tell them this before you did the video? Because I could understand that you standing 10 toes down like, hey, can you send me a bug out? By the way, there's going to be some things I'm going to do on camera that's going to make you upset. I'm not going to tell you what they are specifically, but I need to get the information out there. Is that something that was told, or?
Is it really important that I can break this in half? Not especially, because you shouldn't be doing this with a knife anyway.
I'm very loose. I need tires.
But the fact that I could, I had to share that. So Ricky and I made a conscious decision when we were shooting that that was not a result we were expecting, but we were going to publish it anyway, no matter what Benchmade felt about it. And we want to do that moving forward with anything we test on the channel. If it breaks, it breaks. There is no bias. And I understand why you guys might feel like there is some. And we're going
Well, I don't think there's bias. I will say that. I mean, for you to get a Benchmade sent out to you and to completely, you know what I'm saying, smack it down like that. How many, let's see, 14 laps of fuel. Let's go with a half a can and go with 4 tires. Like, I just think that, I think that it's I'm starting to kind of feel more and more like it might be a bridge saving type of video, right? I heard that the super slim thin bug out is crap. Oh, you talking about the Narrows and the Narrows Mini? I don't think I've seen anybody torture test that, but that's like a $600 knife or $500 knife, depending on which one you did. He did the one click bait 2 videos type of things. You talk about me? Did I? Are you talking about Taylor Martin? Which one is it? Which one is it? Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. I think that so that's what I'm leaning for. I'm leaning more towards it's a video to save the relationship between the two. But I mean, okay, I'll let you spit your bars, sir. I'll let you spit your bars.
We're going to talk about that. But at the end of the video, just another way to dispel that Benchmade paid me any money for this. At the very end of the video, I didn't recommend either of these knives. I recommended a Hogue Deca, which is probably the closest competitor to the bug out.
Now, my question about, I didn't get that. I guess I should have commented or inquire about is, you recommended the Hogue Deca. Have you put the Hogue Deca through a torture test? I know you said you put the NAVS Lander through a torture test, but did you say this is the end of my torture test, therefore buy the Hogue Deca? I love the Hogue Deca. I agree with you. If it was the bug out, the Ozark Trail, another American made crossbar style of lock knife, then I'm going with the Hogue Deca all day, every day. I love the blade shape. It's really good for getting in there with zip ties. It's really good for the pinch grip when I want to do utility cuts. Like if I need to put a piece of an item on the bed of my truck to cut into it, I would prefer to do it with either a Warnier Tonto or a reverse Tonto or a for something like that for a pinch grip. But that's just me.
Because I prefer that. If I'm going to carry an ultra lightweight knife with a crossbar lock, I am going with a Hogue Deca. That's just the truth. If Benchmade paid me anything at all to make that video, there is a 0% chance I could have published it and saying that I would buy a Hogue Deca over the.
That's not true. Unless you just really have really non-existent contract agreements with these firms. I could show you guys the contracts I write for these. So my career is, I've been writing contracts for almost 20 years. I used to be an adjunct professor for Texas A&M School of Law, where I taught contract risk management. I wrote contracts in the Marine Corps. I audit contracts. I'm a contract guy. The contracts I send to these companies do not allow for them to alter what I say at the end of my videos in any way. And to that point, Taylor, if Benchmade would not allow for you to recommend another knife at the end of the video, then there is a possibility that you or both could be violating FTC policy, because it's a review. It's not a commercial. There are two different things. If Benchmade paid you to make a commercial, I need everything. I need actually, I don't need fuel, but I do need tires. If Benchmade paid you to do a bug out commercial, yes, at the end of the Benchmade commercial, an ad spot, we do that on YouTube. There's no way you could say, and therefore I recommend you buy Hogue Deca. But if they paid you to do a review, and at the end of the review, you said it's a pretty cool knife, but I would buy the Hogue Deca instead, per the FTC for a review, they can't alter that. So if they try not to pay you for it, it was almost equivalent if they told you, hey, don't tell them that we sponsored this video. Just keep that a secret. That would be another type of violation. So that's why I know that they didn't pay you, because you would have had to disclose that last video anyways. But to say that there's a 0% chance, it's just factually not true. There's been plenty of companies that have paid me money, like the bag I showed at the beginning of this. Tom Talk paid money for that review, and I recommended other bags in that review. So I think that might just be a lack of knowledge when it comes to the FTC, or you just don't have good contracts between these companies, and you are letting them send that to you. And if you need a contract out, hit me up.
Bug out. So there's that. If I were to recommend anything different, because at the end of the video, I do think we were a little rushed, which is our fault. That's not an excuse. It's just the fact of the matter.
I mean, it's only rushed because listen, it was rushed for a couple of reasons. The Ozark Trail hit the market. You guys saw the value of a video. You saw that it was the price. I know either you saw a couple of videos, or you saw the knife in store, or you did your Ozark Trail overview and you saw the response for that specific knife. And either yourself or Pretty Ricky thought, you know what? We need to jump on top of this while it's hot. Get Benchmade to send us a bug out. This is just me. This is allegedly. I don't know if this is how it went down, but now I'm gonna let me just pretend this is how it was going. Get Benchmade to send us a bug out. We got to get on this quick. You guys filmed it, and you just said I don't know what in a hurry means. I don't know if it was for editing or if you want the video to get out there quick. I don't know what you meant by that. But so when all those things come together, it ends up at the very end where you're making this recommendation or whatever the case may be. So I can understand what you're saying, but that doesn't necessarily justify whatever you're about to say next.
I'd probably recommend something else. What I said at the end of the video was it would take 18 of these to offset one of these.
And here's the thing that's an issue with that. That's a factual statement. The word offset that's very that's being obtuse. Okay. That's not very subjective. Objectively, it would take 18 of those to match the price of the bug out. But the word offset needs to have meaning behind it. What does the word offset mean when you say it would take, 18 of these to offset this? What does that mean? Because everybody has different value. A $10 Ozark Trail knife honestly might be fine for most people. Like, for instance, my wife, there's no need for her to have a bug out. She opens packages. She does not break down boxes. That's my job. But if she were single, she would break down boxes. And she every now and again has to cut a zip tie or whatever, get into some new item that she purchased, or cut some tags off a purse or a shirt. So the word offset I don't know. It doesn't fit every scenario, but I think I understand what you're trying to say. It would take 18 of those to match to get to the pricing of the bug out.
That's not true. And I was just in the moment off the cuff, and I said something that wasn't entirely true. That's fine. Sorry. But I guess the point
Don't say sorry. No. Stand 10 toes, bro. Listen, it's okay for you to say I messed it up. I'm not a big fan of men saying sorry to, especially strangers. You can apologize. I know the words just mean two different things for me personally. When I use the word sorry, like I said, it's for my wife or my woman. Get off my ass, bro. God damn it. It's really for those scenarios. I got to pit. I need freaking repairs. I need everything. It's going to take 18 seconds, but I got to get that happening. It's 21 laps remaining in this race. Let me see. Estimated fuel. We'll do half a can. But I personally don't think there's a reason for you to have to. That was a horrible decision. To have to overall say sorry for the offset comment. I'm critiquing it in real time, but I think it's still something that you could have justified and 100% went with.
I was really trying to make is that if you buy this Ozark Trail, you're probably going to break it.
Okay, but how? I mean, your audience better than I. There's not one item that I show on my channel that at the end of the video or at the beginning or in the middle, I say, if you buy this bag, you're probably going to break it. If you buy this knife, you're probably going to break it. I mean, if my channel was mostly a survival channel, maybe I could make that type of statement. Yours and my channel are similar. We're not out showing how to take a piece of titanium and boil water, or take a tent or take a poncho and use it in 14 different ways in the woods. So I don't know if I agree with the statement that if you buy this knife, you're probably going to break it, because I got some like $10 knives in the armrest of my truck that I can hand to people just in case they have an emergency on the side of the road, and hopefully I can make up some of these laps or make up some of this distance on the long run. But I don't know about overall will it just break because it's a $10 knife? I don't think that's 100% true.
Showed that it broke much easier than the bug out, not the handle. That's, again, nobody's snapping their knives in half intentionally. With stabbing.
But you did it on theirs. And I think that's why Benchmade kind of reached out and touched you, brother. And the Benchmade bug out came out in 2017 before there were any clones. I think the knife that preceded it was the Griptilian. When the Benchmade bug out came out, there was not a lot of knives that were lightweight, targeted for hikers, because that's what they originally targeted for. That's why it was so lightweight, and it just worked out so well for everyday carry. In the 1990s, Benchmade was just stopping to making so many balisongs. They were making a lot of knives for the tactical bros. They had the Benchmade Emerson. They had the CQC. They had a lot of knives that were just partial serration. You know, S30V didn't exist yet, but they were really aimed towards the tactical bros. Heavy knives. The Axis lock didn't exist yet. So when the bug out came out, it was a revolutionary rather. And so they didn't know in 2024 someone will be snapping them in half for torture tests versus a clone from the knife that they came up with in 2017. So, you know, I don't know about that.
And throwing and cutting and prying. The Ozark Trail broke.
Because the target audience, like I said, was hikers and somebody that may stop on a trail and open up an MRE, or somebody that has some straps that they need to take care of on their bag, or somebody at a campsite that's trying to do a little bit of maintenance, or somebody that needs to cut a shoestring down on a pair of boots. Or that's what the bug out came up for. And it was durable, and it needed to have a corrosion resistance. And then, like, you know, that was a target. So for this type of torture testing and snapping it with staples and bending it in half, and that sucks. Let's see how many laps are left. Laps remaining 13. Let's not pit. Let's just see if we can make it happen. So, like, you know, look at that. Started in first place. This is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad, guys. Let's just give you a heads up. Okay. I got a bush on my right and I got a field behind me. This is gonna be bad.
Broke considerably easier, the blade. And there was very little damage to the blade of the bug out. This blade, if you put a new handle and new liners on
and yes, I need fuel
on it, this blade would be totally fine. You could touch it up, it'd be totally fine. But you're going to break the Ozark Trail. I'm not the first one to snap the tip on it. There have been other people who have snapped.
But how did they snap the tip? What were they doing? I don't pry with my knife. You know, I'm not doing that type of stuff with my knife. So there's not a lot of instances where I'm snapping knives and breaking knives or whatever the case may be. Those things aren't happening with me. So I'm wondering, when you say we're going to go with everything, see if I can just make it up. Like, what does it mean when you're like, yeah, you're definitely going to break this thing? It's definitely going to happen. And you said it's the narrows. Okay, that's what you meant. I see what you're saying. So I don't know about just it's going to break. It's questionable. The heat treatment, I agree with that. It is. But I don't know if this was a fair comparison for your torture testing. Or maybe they're mad at the recommendation at the end. I think if you would have left the recommendation part out, I think if you would have been like, hey, guys, this torture testing is not scientific. I was just out here for shits and giggles. The Benchmade bug out, and then give your opinion about it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you just give your opinion about it. And you say these should stand in their own category, right? The American-made goodness of the Benchmade bug out does not compare to the Chinese sweat factory of the Ozark Trails. This was just for shits and giggles and blah. I think maybe that would have been better, but I know for a fact when I effed up the tip of any of my knives, I was doing something stupid with it. So, for instance, my Spyderco PM2, I used it to pry open some, what is the acid you use to clean pools? Is it murylolic acid, whatever you call that acid? I used it to pry open some acid, and I fucked up the tip of my PM2. It's now rusted, right? One of my Swiss Army knives, one of the tips of the knives that are built into the things, I used it to pry open trying to break into my daughter's room, and I tore the tip up trying to break into her room because she had locked herself in her room, and she's at the time was an 11-month-old kid, right? So that's just doing things I'm not supposed to do with a knife.
Ozark Trail
so,
tip. it's just chippy D2. It's questionable heat treat at best. At worst, it's still D2, but the geometry, because it's hollow ground and very thin, like it's not going to be super strong. You're going to
I agree with that. I still don't know if you'll break it though.
break this knife eventually, so you're going to need 4, 5, whatever.
Why would you need 4? Okay, listen, Taylor, I like you, but let me just tell you some things. Okay, just a couple of things. When you have a connection with everyday use and everyday life, we're both YouTubers. You're full time. I have a job, got a big ass family. I can't do this full time. It's just too volatile, and I don't want to have to make a video like this, right? Just to be frank with you, that's why I wouldn't do this full time. But there's not a statement that I would make while having a family of 7, a real job, or not a real job, a full-time job where I'm paid by somebody else, and do regular shit with my knife where I think to myself, let me watch a YouTube video about this knife before I buy it. Or I just bought this knife. Let me watch a YouTube video for confirmation because I just want to confirm that I made a good decision. And while watching that video, the YouTuber says, you're going to need 4 or 5 of these because you're going to break them. There's not an instance where I don't laugh out loud at that YouTuber or just close the video and maybe choose to not watch them for a while, because what that means is I'm like, what the hell are you doing with your knife that you need 4 or 5 of them? Now, I think you own a farm or a piece of property. I think that if you're giving a suggestion for people like that, which most of your audience is not, then yeah, they might need 4 or 5. But for folks that are doing regular day shit, slicing apples, breaking down packages, cutting zip ties, making small cuts on rubber or plastic, my recommendation would be you might be sharpening this knife a lot, but I think there would be rarely a suggestion when I say you need 4 or 5 of these. You need to go out and spend $50 for this purchase that you made to make sense. I may say to the audience that, hey, you're going to be sharpening this thing more often than not, and just know that, you know, it's not the highest made. This is hold on, wait, what lap is this? 3 laps left. Oh, this is a green right run right here. This is going to be interesting. No one pitted. Okay, here we go. There's just like no instance that I'm going to even feel the urge to make that suggestion. And I think that that is where a little bit of connection is lost when it comes to the everyday man. I think that's why it's important that we kind of even find different ways to connect with people beyond our videos, because you do lose that connection. Like, it just, for me to form those words and make that, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for me per se, especially knowing that people just do regular shit with their knives.
Whatever you're going to need. Some of you might never break it. If you just open Amazon packages, you're fine. But
Right. Okay. So that's the slight shade to your audience. That's slight shade to your audience, right? Some of you may never break it if you just open Amazon packages, which I think, without me diving into the analytics, most of your audience probably just opens up packages, breaks down boxes, and you freaking suck donkey balls, bro. Just freaking pitted me out on the last lap. Caution occurred, the leader has crossed the line. The race is over. Just finished 38th. I mean, like, most people are doing regular stuff with their knives. So it's like, what is, I don't know. It just feels a little, that feel a little slidey to me, just me personally. There is a confusion of this video. Is he standing 10 toes down on his honest opinions, or is he backpedaling to save face? I don't know. And that's why I'm digging in, because it feels backpedal-y. And you got to think about the stance he's coming from. He has he does this full time. He has employees. He has a business he has on the side. And you can't burn relationships when you do stuff full time. For instance, his career, this is what I will say. Okay, think about this. Taylor Martin has been on the internet for a long time. He used to work for CNET, and he also used to work for Pocket Now. He used to do video reviews for Pocket Now. And so my assumption, this is just me on the outside looking in. I don't know anything personally about his aspirations, but the fact that you've been on the internet this long and you've worked for at least two organizations that put you in front of a camera to do reviews about stuff leads me to believe that this is something you desire to do. And So with that being said, if there's anything that burns bridges or can come after what you desire to do, you have to play defense on that, no matter what you say. So when you have employee, you got Pretty Ricky's an employee, you have a business, you have a business partner, you have other employees, you got all that type of stuff. You got a family. I think he has 1 or 2 kids. Like all that goes through your head when you're like, man, this is one of the biggest companies out here. If I'm not one of the first ones to have one of the hottest new products from them, that could jeopardize my business. It could jeopardize my channel. So let me, I guarantee Benchmade didn't tell him to make this video. This is just something he decided to do on his own, and open yourself up to mend that relationship with the company. And I don't care what you say, it's a little backpedaling. It's a tinge, okay? And so I think that would be something to think about overall. You know, I don't know. It's similar to like when I made the criticism video of him last year. I've talked about it before. A lot of content creation, is monkey see, monkey do, or you talking about things that you've done before and you're doing a review or whatever. And so for parts of my critique of him, I saw some great ideas that I did specifically cribbing information from that creator and talked to the creator about it. And he was, in my opinion, more butthurt about the cribbing of information versus the critique in the video overall. But I stand 10 toes down on the decisions that I made. There's no video that comes out later and says, well, guys, I'm really sorry, or I apologize for this. That's just not coming from me. It's just not. But I also don't do this full time. I also don't feel like that there is like a jeopardy of losing a relationship or needing to mend a relationship with this. The only relationship I'm concerned about is the relationship with my viewers and, you know, obviously the relationship with YouTube. Because if I want to keep this going, even as a hobby, I can't just be out here dropping F-bombs and all the other type of stuff. By F-bombs, I mean the slur towards gay folks. Okay. So that type of, got to be cautious of that type of stuff. But I think that, it says not a fan of the channel at all, too elitist and disingenuous for my taste. I wish him all the best. I still watch his content. I just don't watch all of it. I think that here's how the channel comes off for me. And we're going to keep watching the video here in a second, but here's how the channel comes off for me. Is it feels like you finally found something that works. Your history of working with CNET and working with a Pocket now, and then you land in everyday carry, it feels like you found something that works. And so, but I want to ask this question. Could you imagine yourself, Taylor, and I'm talking to you directly, when you work for Pocket Now, which mostly review cell phones and the accessories that attach to cell phones, could you imagine yourself reaching out to Samsung, Google, Apple, Huawei, whoever, and requesting a phone to compare it to another phone and then putting it through the equivalent torture test that you did for the Benchmade bug out? An equivalent torture test would be you just got a brand new phone and you run the battery, you know, for 3 days straight and you say the battery sucks. Or you use it directly in the sun and you say it overheats. Or you dive in the water and it says it can go underwater for 30 minutes at this depth. And I don't know, you do something, you put it in salt water or said, whatever. Is that something that you could have imagined yourself doing with Pocket Now? I would argue no, because if you got a brand new phone, it's still downloading brand new apps. It's still learning you, right? So you can't immediately battery test a brand new phone because that's not practical, right? And the heat testing on outside in the sun, no one uses their phone that way. Or taking it deeper in the water it's supposed to be, or using it in salt water if they don't recommend use it in salt water. People don't do that. So those companies, whether it be Apple or if it was Google or Samsung, they will be mad at you. They will say, hey, what's up? You asked us to send a phone to test it. I don't know if you said torture test it or not. That's something you have to fill in the blank. But you said you were going to test it versus this phone, and then we pull it up, and you're doing a battery drain test that no one does, or you're snapping it into a phone clamp that's not designed for it, or you're snapping it in like that. Will be the same type of conversation. And then you may have to do a video when you're talking to Apple, or you're talking to Google, and say, hey, it could be. I could see the same thing happening with any of those. And I think that the chasing of content is what led to this. I blame Pretty Ricky. I'm just playing. I don't know whose idea it was, but the point is you are happily, in my opinion, you're becoming like the Joe X of the USA. I like Joe X content. I like watching you torture test stuff, but that doesn't mean you can't be critiqued for doing it. Right. It doesn't mean you can't be critiqued for it. And I think that because we're in the world of quote unquote the manly EDC, we just do shit we wouldn't do in other worlds. If I tested monitors for a living, I wouldn't ask LG to send me out a monitor to compare with the Apple Studio Display or some Dell 34-inch monitor and torture test it. I wouldn't. We do that shit here. Even in the gun community, gun tubers don't do that. It's not like they get a gun out and they're just like, all right, let's put it in a vice grip and see how hard we can hit it with a hammer. We do it in our line because knives are something we physically use in our hands, but we're not torture testing pins from Big Idea Design. We're not torture testing multi-tools. At least you're not. It's the most popular of the EDC items, which is the freaking knife. So yeah, I don't know.
Point is, I would rather get something $40 or $50 that is definitely better quality over this Ozark Trail knife that you're going to need multiples of. That was the point I was trying to.
I agree with that. I agree with that 80%. If you use your knife at least 10 times a day, you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't have a $10 knife. Because if you use your knife $10 a day, that means you're doing stuff with it. If you use your knife once a day, like my wife, she may use a knife once every 2 days. Then a $10 knife is going to be fine. She would actually think it was weird that she went $40 on a knife for what? For $50, we can buy 4 pairs of scissors and keep one in every drawer. That would be her mentality. So for a $10 knife, she's just like, a $10 knife, that's only a couple dollars more than a good pair of scissors. Nah, I'll do that. That's how most people think of the situation. So it's just something that is a viable thing, is something that we think about, but I don't think most people think about that shit.
I don't want a knife that I'm going to use and know that it's probably going to break or can break. If I have to use it a little bit outside the recommended use, I'd rather get something that I know that I can abuse a little bit and it's going to be okay.
But that's just for us. Okay. That's just for us. Most folks are using their stuff, it would be, most folks aren't concerned about that.
Like a Civivi or something of that nature. There's Kaiser Drop Bear, which is about $100. There are.
Okay. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like this is why I do a lot of videos when it comes to, you don't need that type of stuff. And I've talked about for a long time before they they got purchased by another company. I talked about the Rat 2, Ontario Knife Company, or the Rat 1, who are always just some solid $40 knives. And now I have a favorite budget banger, CJRB Pyrite Light, #bars. Even this CJRB Hector, that I'm carrying at $50, I still, it might be a little bit kind of pricey at that point because of how it feels out of the box. But the point is, $100 knife makes no sense to a lot of people. I have a buddy who he is right now, I don't know what state he went to, but it's elk season. He geared up his lovely looking Toyota. He put a John boat in the back. He freaking took off and he drove to go hunt some elk. He's trying to put down a 6x6 or a 5x5. If I told him spend $100 on a knife, he would look at me like I was crazy. But if I told him to spend $1,000 on a rifle, he'd be like, oh, it doesn't sound like that. Sounds pretty good. I would go for that. So I think that for knife people, yeah, Kaiser Drop Bear, which is so fantastic, makes sense to us. But for most folks, they see the $40, $50 range making sense, and then they see luxury as Benchmade. That's just how people see it. I'm sorry, that is. Just like they see luxury as Leatherman when it comes to multi-tools, or Swiss Army knives because that's what they know. People know Buck, they know Benchmade, they know Leatherman, they know Victorinox. Actually, they don't know Victorinox. They know SAK. They know that name, Swiss Army knife. That's what they know. You know, so everybody's a little bit different when it comes to that. Bronny says, I showed my farmer buddy my really expensive high-end knife, and he told me that he would never carry it because it will get lost or run over by a tractor or something like that. Yeah, I can see something like that. S. Marcy says, I thought Taylor's video was solid. The thing that concerned me more than anything was the audience responding as if he was paid by Benchmade to make it, which is nonsensical. Media literacy is dead. Media literacy is dead. We could talk about that all day, especially politics. But I get your point, which is people assumed that they paid. I did not leave that video assuming that he was paid. And I wouldn't have made that assumption before I was a YouTuber. You know, there's just no way. He first he would have had to disclose it per FTC rules. And also, normally you have to have a point to your, like, why would they pay him to just run it through a test versus a 10? Like, what value would Benchmade see in having their knife compared to a $10 clone? Why would they pay for that? To say, like, don't buy the clone, get the real thing. Here's why. That didn't even sound like good content for Benchmade.
Other ones, actually, there's a drop bear. Maybe it's a mini or something, but it's coming out and it's like $70.
Did you just disclose something we know nothing about? I don't know about a mini drop bear. I want to know about that. I know you can get a drop bear, especially if you want to get like a micarta instead of the aluminium version. You can get a drop bear like Chicago Knife Works or follow directly on Kaiser's website or sometimes on Blade HQ. You can get them for $89. I had a chatter the other day said they got one for $84. So it just depends.
There's also the Yonder that's coming from Civivi. Our friend Zach designed it. There are a billion different options, and I understand why you might want like 4 or 5 Ozark Trails to keep one in your truck, keep one in a bag, keep one everywhere, have a backup. But I personally recommend and have always recommended buying something a little nicer with a little better durability than having to replace something. That's just my take. It's a difference of opinion.
I'm not going to agree with that. I'm just saying that for most folks, when you use if all you do is Amazon thing, it's a little slidey towards your audience.
You can like the Ozark Trail, buy 5 of them, and be happy. There's nothing wrong with that either. And there's also nothing wrong with liking the bug out. And to address the transparency for future videos, because I don't want anybody to think we're taking money to destroy somebody's knife. I don't know why anybody would pay us to do that to begin with, but just for the transparency, moving forward, I think it's probably best if we buy the knives that we're going to destroy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's something I can 100% agree with. I think that it makes sense that you buy it if you're going to destroy it. Matter of fact, I'll show you my ethics statement that I send to companies whenever I am dealing with different companies. So let's go here real quick. Hold on. Let me pull up my camera. So whenever I am dealing with a company and they reach out to me for the first time, whether I reach out to them or they reach out to me, the first thing I do is send them my ethics statement. You can find this on the marinex.com/ethics. And this will give clarity to talk about exactly what the company can expect from you and what you can expect from the company. And without me going through and reading this entire thing, because it's long, what this is basically saying is I prefer not to get free shit. I prefer not to do sponsored work. However, if I do, you have to read this page. You have to agree to it. And we have to have mutual trust. I also say in this long ass statement, I give some examples of companies that have agreed to this statement before: Nutsack, VAR, Vertex, EcoFlow, Olight, Woobin, Civivi, Kubi, Montana Knife Company, GoRuck, Eberlin Stock. I could add Benchmade to this because I sent Benchmade this ethics statement. And so when I send this out to them, most companies respond and say, we like the ethics statement, all that good stuff. But it just lets them know, like, hey, this is what I expect from you if you send me a product. So if they were to send me a product, I would reflexively not want to do that type of torture testing after someone's gone through and agree to this lengthy ass ethics statement. It's just something that I wouldn't reflexively want to do. That's just, I don't know. And so for yours, when you say that you got the stuff for free, I do believe that it would have made more sense for you to make the purchase yourself versus letting them send it out to you and then putting it through the ringer like that. What's your favorite Montana Knife Company knife? Right now, listen, I like that Task Force 24 that just dropped. They gave that to me for free, full disclosure. But that thing goes with me when I go rucking. It's too big to everyday carry, like in your pocket. When I go rucking, oh, that thing is goated. And I'm also a big fan of the Blackfoot 2.0. But if you had to button me down to one of those two, it would be the Blackfoot 2.0 with an Alti clip. It doesn't come with an Alti clip, but that's what I would go with. So it really depends on, you know, I think that you need to get with, and feel free. Listen, my ethics statement came from Tom Buck. Tom Buck does content in the microphone tech space. I cribbed it from him. He said it's 100% able to be taken. I took it and cribbed it for myself and just massaged it for what I need. I've given it to other creators that have do EDC stuff. I recommend, Taylor, you take the shit, put it on your website, bro. Like an ethics statement that if a company reaches out to you, send them this shit immediately. Send them this stuff immediately. Bronny, I know you do this stuff as well. Go to my ethics statement, steal it, massage it, and change it that you want to. One of the things that says right here, my content is my own. I create and produce each video based on what I'm excited about and I think will be relevant to my audience. So I let them know I am not going to include your social media. I'm not going to guarantee a number of views. I'm not going to let you see the video before I release it unless there's a legal reason I have to, like Aura. I'm also sponsored by Mint Mobile. They have to see my videos before I release them because they have to make sure I'm disclosing per FTC, but they don't care about the content. So it just depends. Send this to them immediately, bro. And if you need help with the contracts part, I do that shit too. Holla at your boy. You know what I'm saying? We can make that happen. We can make that happen. Let me jump back to my damn game and we'll get back into the video as well. Let me see. What's your favorite knife? I agree with the Bronny. That's it. What I can afford to lose. Yeah, that makes sense. Like that makes 100% sense. It's kind of just doing what works out for you versus just doing like whatever, buying a nice knife just because you can afford it or just because you need it. But for the nature of work that I do, which is mostly working from home, like no one cares.
Unless it's something that's very, very difficult to get our hands on. But we're not like taking one from a friend and
I mean, okay, so very, very difficult to get our hands on. I still don't know if I would reach out to get I still don't know if I would reach out to get a knife from a company if it was hard to get my hand on and torture tested. I still don't know if I would do that. Like you just mentioned that you have the Zon, and I guess you said you picked it up, or did you say purchased? I'm assuming you purchased it. Let's just go with purchased. I don't think you would reach out to Chris Reeve Knife Company and say, hey, can you send me a Zon so I can run it through the ringer and flush it down the toilet and do some other shit? No, I just, spend that money, bro. Let's see. Do I want to do neutral, rival, or let's see. What's up with that last race? Did you even know how to drive? Are you making the main entry, sir? Man, bro, let's just go with this one. Let's go with let's compliment him. Let's provoke him. And there we go. But it just really depends. Like for me personally, if it makes sense. Do you make the purchase or do you let them send it to you?
Sending it back after it's broken, so we're probably going to just have to buy the knives. If we do get a knife from a manufacturer, we'll disclose that, just like we did this time. But just know, no company in their right mind is going to pay to see their knife destroyed. And that is actually why we have channel sponsors on.
I don't know about right mind. Listen, a lot of declarative statements being made here, and I don't know if that's 100% true. I know some very small knife makers who are companies. If you have an LLC, you're a company, that if Taylor Martin reached out and said, hey, can you send me a knife so I can destroy it? They would freaking cancel their what they have going on for the remainder of the day and beam themselves to the post office to get a knife over to you to destroy it. Okay. So that's, like I said, another kind of like a YouTuber declarative statement that I don't know. Cause, I run a small business, right? I have a full-time job, but I also run a small business. It's called the Veteran Podcast Studio, where if you want to do a podcast or if you want to make a YouTube video, I already own the cameras and shit. You can use my studio and I'll be your producer and all the other type of stuff. If somebody wanted to come, and I said podcast or a YouTube video, but if someone hit me up, we could take that statement and say there's no podcast studio in their right mind would, let a company film a music video in their studio. It has nothing to do with podcast. I'm like, no, that's not a totally true statement. Okay. So, but I get what you're saying. I think I understand what you're saying, but it's not a declarative.
On this channel, because we want the ability to do things that are a little bit removed. Big Idea Design, I've worked very closely with them for years.
Big Idea Design has a really weak jaw. Like I've talked about this before. Would never disclose DMs, but I've had a similar situation with Big Idea Design as he had with Benchmade. And there was no apology video coming for me because I think that they just have a weak jaw. And I would never work with a weak jaw company. Obviously, he does work with a weak jaw company. Meaning by that is they literally jumped in the comments of my videos and saw that I hearted messages from viewers. And they took me hearting messages as agreeing with the comment. I'm like, how small-minded do you have to be as a company to believe that the tool, YouTube is a tool, right? And if the tool is heart messages or like them for commenters or reply to them, that's what I do. So when you see me heart a message, you think I'm agreeing to it. That is just meaning you have a weak jaw. And so when you say like Big Idea Design, I've worked closely with them for years and they don't really say they don't really have a say. I don't know if I 100%, I don't have the same experience. And you said they don't really say that means that they may have a say. Okay. When you say they don't really say, that means that they may have a say. So I can get what you're saying, but either or you have more respect for Benchmade because maybe Benchmade has a say and you're making a video about it to clean the shit up. I don't know. Maybe that's how I'm looking at it. Maybe that's how I should look at it. Maybe I should have.
They don't really have a say in what I say on the channel. They're cool with whatever happens. So is Worksharp.
Now, Worksharp is cool. Worksharp has sent me shit in the past. Worksharp, they don't care if you critique their products. I've compared Worksharp directly with TS Prof sharpeners. They don't care. They all marketing is good marketing for Worksharp and whatnot. I haven't worked with them, but I think I've seen them do good things on Taylor Martin's channel and as well as Max Level EDC.
Whatnot's new, but they're really chill too, and they really don't work with knife brands directly. So like,
yeah, there you go. So when you say you're sponsored by folks who would never let X, Y, or Z happen at the end of the video, Whatnot would let it happen because they don't work directly with knife people. You just said that. So it's equivalent to me working with Mint Mobile or Aura. They wouldn't care if I snapped a Benchmade bug out in half or if I did this or did that with it. Like they would give two shits about that. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about statements you made earlier.
The whole point of the channel sponsors was so that we can do more stuff that's industry related and not have to have overlap or potential conflicts of interest. But if it makes it better, maybe we do buy the knives that we're going to destroy.
Okay, so that's your opinion about a channel sponsor. Okay, the point of a channel sponsor, you're saying that you didn't want to have overlap, meaning what he's saying is he doesn't want like a knife brand or a brand that does the stuff that he does. He doesn't want one of those brands to also sponsor the channel because it could be a conflict of interest, right? Big Idea Design makes EDC stuff. It's a conflict in theory. How I don't know what your definition of conflict of interest is. Do they make knives? Let's see. But I know they make pins. I know they make watches, and I know they make like they have this other company called Exclusive, which they make stuff. They make stuff for Taylor as well. But do they make knives? Let me see something real quick. I think, oh my God. Oh man. I think they do. Can somebody tell me if Big Idea Design makes knives? Every day. Yeah, they make knives. So by that definition, they kind of sort of would be like making stuff. They kind of sort of will be making stuff that it could be am I mistaken? What does he mean by like we have channel sponsors to not have a conflict of interest? What does that mean? Because by that logic, Big Idea Design wouldn't be a sponsor. They make the TI slide, the TI utility knife. They make all these foldings and fixed blades and all this other stuff. So I don't know. This is just my opinion. I think you have channel sponsors so you don't have to worry about views. That's how channel sponsors, right? You get paid on YouTube a couple of ways, right? You get paid with ad revenue and views. You get paid from affiliate links when people click on your affiliate links, or you get paid from brand deals and sponsorships. So you have another line of income. I mean, just this is where a point where you got to be a little bit more real with yourself. You got employees, you got a business, you have sponsorships to ensure that those things are taken care of. I wouldn't want Pretty Ricky out on the streets because your revenue was decreasing. You had to let them go. So you have sponsorships. So to say not to have a conflict of interest, I don't know if that's that. I believe that that's a little disingenuous. I believe that you can cure that with the ethics statement, though, and then you could just have anyone that you wanted to sponsor or send you gear. Because if you have a solid ethics statement, if you have solid contracts, it wouldn't matter who sponsored the video. There are tech creators who have oftentimes will have exactly the realm that they're in sponsor videos. So people that might review cell phones may say, hey, this video is sponsored by Apple, blah, 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 blah. People who review cameras may say, hey, this video is sponsored by Sony, blah, 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 blah. None of them are saying, well, you know, I got to have brand deals to avoid conflicts of interest with the camera companies. No one's using that type of language. So I think that it may be a self-reflection of why you have them versus what you're saying to yourself out loud right now. But, you know, maybe I'm tripping. Let me see what else we got here. So what did I qualify? 26. All right, I'll take that.
That's fine. I don't care. I'm not worried about it. But to address some of the bias concerns,
I don't think he's biased. I did read video. I saw comments on the video were saying that he was giving Benchmade a pass. I don't know if he's, well, I don't know. Let me just say this. I don't believe he's biased. You know, I think I'm more of a Benchmade sheep than Taylor Martin. But he is more familiar with the bug out. The Ozark Trail has existed for less than 1/4 of a year, whereas the Benchmade bug out has existed since the summer of 2017. Right? So could he have like organic being familiar with something that leads toward bias? Maybe. Possibly.
There are a lot of people who thought that we gave the bug out a lot of passes and were harder on the Ozark Trail. And there was one comment in particular that said that anytime we had like good results from the Ozark Trail, we would run the test again.
This is a part, Taylor, this is one thing I would say. This language that you're using right now is reminiscent to when you reacted to my video of you. You reacted to it during a live stream. And during the live stream, you said that you watched my video a few times. I'm going to say, by few, I mean, I'm going to say at least 3. And if I'm misquoting that, then my bad. And you watched in the car, which means you were mostly listening to it because you can't watch a video and drive. And you watched it on your phone. You watched it multiple times. And you were defending yourself so hard, but also kind of agreeing with me. And I'm kind of getting those same type of vibes right now, where you're diving deep into these commenters on YouTube videos with, you know, whenever I'm a commenter on a YouTube video, I'm just a guy, a name and a face. And to allow it to, I don't know, if, is it comments that crafted this response, or is it Benchmade? Not crafted, but prompted this response. I don't think anyone crafted your response. I think you're doing this on your own. And but to mention specific comments is a little icky to me, if that makes sense.
Anytime the bug out seemed like it was doing a little better in a test, we would move on. And that's, you know, it's provable, but it's untrue, because we had hours and hours and hours of footage that we cut down to 40 minutes, which was still long in my opinion.
That's a long video, bro. And hours of footage. I mean, how do you have hours and hours of footage from I saw the torture test video. I guess if you were just rolling the camera, I guess it could be recording for hours and hours. And so I can understand that. Like these cameras I use around here, none of them ever record. None of them record. Whenever I record videos, they record directly to my computer. So I get what you're saying. I can literally record a 7-hour video right now. As long as my computer has memory, I can record like a 7-hour video. So I get what you're saying.
I wanted what we had in there. The truth is, we did all the same tests on these knives. And the reason we would run it again is because we got a result that didn't seem right, not because...
Now, here's the thing I have about running it again. I think you could just run it and leave it as is, because I think you've admitted before in your past that some of these tests aren't really scientific. They don't have a control. There's a human error. There's a human factor. Your arm gets fatigued. There's wind. There's air. You're not in a vacuum. So I don't know if I would run it again. Like if you're doing a cut test, if you're doing a drop test, if you're doing whatever, I don't know if 100%, actually, I don't want to pit. I don't know if 100%, I would just run it again organically, because I don't know what it means that you didn't get quite the results, because is there like a center? Is there like a balance or something that kind of lets you know, like, that was off. You know, we got to run that again.
Because it was an Ozark Trail or the bug out, we did everything first with the Ozark Trail. So we'd decide to do it again just because.
What is the Ozark Trail called? What is that knife called? Does it have a name? He keeps calling it, I do the same thing. I call it the Ozark Trail, but I know, does it have a model name? Let's put some respect on that shit.
We were like, that doesn't seem right. And
it doesn't seem right, sir. I feel you with that. And you know what also doesn't seem right? Mayonnaise on fish fillet sandwiches from goddamn McDonald's. I went with somebody the other day, got goddamn mayonnaise on their fish fillet sandwich instead of tartar sauce. I almost slapped them.
To sharpening sharpness tests in a second, because that's another point. But we ran those tests again because I do them multiple times anyway, every single time I do it, but also because the results seemed a little weird. So
yeah, okay. Now here's another thing where I think you're retconning what you do in your videos. You just said we ran some of the test again because the test didn't quite seem right. And now you're also saying we ran some of the test again because we always run them multiple times. Which one is it, my friend? Because you just said both.
Wanted to just confirm. But when it came to running tests again, we typically were actually physically harder on the bug out. So when it came to the staple...
And here's the thing about the physically harder. This is where also it's not scientific. So why run it again if you're going to be harder on a knife that already organically has an advantage? The S30V steel of the bug out is already an advantage over the chippy D2 of the Ozark Trail. Why be harder on it? Why not just run them? This is why I think you need like a Arnold Schwarzenegger type machine, like a piece of wood that's shaped like a hand that can just test these knives to pull staples or cut stuff that doesn't involve your arm, doesn't involve your hand or whatever. I think that gives it a better counterbalance.
Test, the Ozark Trail bent
pretty much. Like this test right here that he's doing with these staples. When you say you're being harder on it, for what purpose would you run it again?
Immediately. I'd pry it a little.
Also, who's prying staples up, like multiple staples up with their knife? Here's another unrealistic test, and this is why I wouldn't have ran it more than one time. I was installing a garage door opener in my man cave, okay? So I have this man cave's a 3-car garage. It's separated by 2 garage doors. One's a 2-car garage, one's a 1-car garage. In 2022, I installed the 2-car garage. I've been manually opening the 1-car garage for 2 years. Finally had a little bit of extra money. I bought a garage door opener. One component of that is installing the little sensors down on the ground to let you know if there's a human or an object blocking the door, and the door will stop closing itself. While installing that, I didn't exactly put the wire exactly where I want it. I stapled those. Now, Would I use my knife to pry one staple up from a mistake that I made while running some wire? Yeah, I would. Would I use my knife to pry up 10? No, I wouldn't. I would get down off my little step ladder, because my real ladder didn't love me. Dad joke. But no, I would get down off my step ladder and I would go get a pair of needle nose or long nose pliers, freaking rip them out the wall, or whatever else I might have in my tool chest or a multi-tool before I just start prying a bunch of them up. So that's another test where I wouldn't have ran it again, Taylor, because quite frankly, people are, pumping out a carpenter's not. Imagine a carpenter is tacking down some carpet in your house. He needs to take up a tack strip for whatever reason. He is not taking up a tack strip with a knife. He's not doing that. He may use tack strips are already strong AF. He's probably using a slotted screwdriver or a pry bar. But the point is that these tests are just for fun. And I wouldn't run them multiple times because the results didn't feel right.
Wrong. Bent the tip instantly.
Bent the tip. Just the tip, ladies. I promise that's all I want to do.
And then I had to change how I was prying. The bug
I got to change how I pry every now and again, too, when I just use the tip. I know what you're saying, sir.
I did that intentionally just to make it fair.
But is it fair? Here's the thing. Fair is a controlled test with the same variables. That's fair. Okay. So I deal in the world of what's called fair and reasonable. And in contracting, a fair and reasonable means that if all things being the same, is it fair? For instance, if I were buying a knife and I had the Ozark Trail and the Benchmade bug out presented to me, I would try to see, is the Benchmade bug out's pricing fair and reasonable? Now, if my requirement for a knife was a knife that was around 3 inches in length, it weighed less than 3 ounces, it kept its factory edge per some type of objective test for a minimum of 300 cuts, it had a crossbar lock, it did this, it did that, it did this, it did that. Could I say that the pricing of the bug out was fair? No, I can't, because all those salient characteristics I just gave you, those are all static variables. They don't change. The requirements are the requirements. So if the requirements are to pry up a bunch of staples, it's not fair to put more pressure on the bug out. It's not. Am I missing something, or I don't know. Let's take some we're gonna take 1 can of fuel and 4 tires. Like, am I tripping about that or what? Man, I lost a lot of spots. Hold on, let me see what you guys are saying real quick. Let's see. Taylor's video was in my feed. I didn't see the video when the Benchmade was snapped, so it was out of context. I found him to be defensive. I was a subscriber at one time, but I got bored. I'm still a subscriber on my other channel. This is my second channel, but yeah, I still watch them. I just watch them for what it is, right? For me, Taylor Martin is entertaining EDC content. That's what he is. Like, you have a TV show that you like, right? So for me, James Hoffman, the coffee guy, for me, he's entertainment in coffee and espresso. That's a compliment. That means that I can turn him on. Turn him on. That means I can turn on his content and I can just watch it from start to end while making coffee or while sharpening a knife, working on a report in Excel. Taylor Martin's the same way. I can put on his video. It can be up on my 65-inch. And I think the things that he's doing are interesting. Now, his opinions on like specific items, I take with a grain of salt because he is a YouTuber like but he's like a YouTuber with employees. It's a different level. But this type of stuff is just entertaining to me. It says the Ozark Trail 7.5-inch slide lock folding knife ball bearing. That's the name of it. That's the name of it. I appreciate that, Mike Knights. Long name. Why do we even care about the Ozark Trail POS? Because it's a meme. Space Ghost. Like, if you go look at the views that YouTubers were getting off of this, and if you go look and see how fast this knife sold out, if you go look at Google Trends, I mean, it's a meme knife. It's the same thing. Like, why do we care about stuff that's going on page 6 in the newspaper? Why do we care about politics, or why do we care about, a recall on a specific vehicle? It's something that you're into and you just may find interesting, but not everything in an arc. So we're going to call this Taylor Martin's Ozark Trail arc, right? Everybody's not interested in everyone's arc. So if this may be something you don't find interesting, and I can understand that. I do. So yeah.
I actually went much harder. I pried all the way
Don't go much harder, sir. Ladies don't like that.
up with the bug out multiple times and never had any issues with the tip bending.
I mean, but S30V versus Chippy D2, those are two different things. This is where I think, like I say, if he can introduce a variable that puts him on the same level as Project Farm, when he tests tools out, or the Torture test tool channels and stuff like that, where they have real life variables, that's a little bit different.
And then we went through the rest of the test. So in that scenario,
my car is really fast right now.
Actually, we're harder on the bug out. The same is true when we were stabbing the knife into the table and breaking the tip. The tip broke off the Ozark Trail instantly.
This is a place where the need for a static variable is really a constant is needed. There's arm fatigue, although, sir, I can tell you've been lifting them goddamn weights, sir, but your arm still gets fatigued, okay? And this is where you can get some type of Arnold Schwarzenegger wood device that you get created on some type of pneumatic nailer or something like that can test the knife out in the same way every single time. It's similar to how these cell phone companies test and see how a fingerprint reader reads. They'll do say, we've tested a fingerprint reader 1,000,000 times. You think that there was a Joe Smo with a freaking lollipop in his hand sitting in some dark room testing out the fingerprint reader? No. You think that someone folded the Samsung Fold 6 1,000,000 times to see until it would break? No. They use a machine. They use something that's static. I think for this type of test, if shits and giggles, yes. But to do it multiple times because you didn't like the results, you're going to need something that's a little bit more objective.
Like as soon as we stabbed it and put any kind of lateral tension on it, it snapped. The bug.
Did you put the same lateral tension on both? When you say lateral, what do you mean by that? You're going to towards your body, which has more tension, or away from your body, which has less because of the way that the knife is in the wood.
Out didn't snap, and I did it over and over and over and over, and it was totally fine. So throughout the entirety of our testing, we actually put more tension, more torture on the
Here comes the yellow
bug out than we did the Ozark Trail. And that's actually exactly what I would have expected from a $10 knife with a thinner blade stock, a questionable heat treat. Like, I don't know why those results
questionable seems. Ozark Trail catching strays too. Questionable, when you use the word questionable and you're talking about a product, okay, this is where I say be careful with your language, especially when you're in me and you, Taylor, are considered journalists of a certain degree, and we have to be careful with our language when we are describing stuff that is provable and not provable. When you say questionable, it's almost derogatory. It's almost as if you're saying that the heat treatment could be dangerous because it's not good enough. Like you're allowing people to draw their own conclusion. I don't know how you could rephrase that, but questionable just seems a little. I'm only saying this because of just my experience at Texas A&M School of Law and working where I work in, and just a number of lawsuits that I've been involved in. I don't know.
Were surprising to anybody, but we were not giving the bug out a pass. We were actually doing more with it because I really wanted to test it. It's really all it comes down to. And there was another point in the rewatching the video, I noticed that I said something about it's also probably the cardboard.
These tests right here, another area where you could have a control. There's so many things about this that's just not controllable. Did the cardboard get made in the same point in time? Because most cardboard is made from recycled paper, recycled material. Cardboard is best cut with fibrous, because cardboard is a fibrous material. Cardboard is best, especially cardboard right in the middle, what you're doing right there, is best cut with serrations. So because you can't control exactly when and how the cardboard was created, it is unless you have the same piece of cardboard from the same pallet, from the same factory, it's hard to have a very solid control. Also, you have the cardboard leaning against your body. Your body's creating heat. And as you expose more cardboard to be cut, that cardboard has had our body next to it. Are you sweating? Are you not? Are you hot? Are you interfering with the fibers of the cardboard? You're making it more soft. So the knife can be razor sharp, but it still won't cut it because it's cardboard. It's fibrous. It's as if you're trying to cut a piece of rope in midair and the rope doesn't have tension on the other side. So I get what you're saying when you say it's possibly the cardboard, and I see why people were in the comments eating your ass up.
Part of it is this cardboard too. We only showed like part of the context for that, and it was when I was cutting the cardboard with the bug out, and it does sound like when we're watching the video back that I'm giving an excuse for why the bug out's struggling, but if you look at the entirety of the footage, both knives were actually struggling, right? Ignore the edit, the entire raw footage, both knives were struggling through the cardboard. And I was saying that when we were cutting with the Ozark Trail and with the bug out, and it was a continued thought from like 5 minutes prior that the cardboard's also probably the issue. It was a little bit soft, and instead of just cutting straight through it, the blades were both getting hung up because the cardboard was rolling instead of cutting. It was kind of soft cardboard, and it just wasn't holding up well. That's fine, it's just out of context. It definitely sounded like I'm giving an excuse for the bug out for why it's not doing as well, but they were both doing pretty bad. At the very end, I actually said the Lander did better at this than both of these knives.
And like I say, that cardboard is the variable. Got that thing propped up against your pit and you're underneath your body. You know, this is a place where we could have a standard.
49, 50. I think the Lander handled both of those better. I think we did 100 cuts with the Lander.
Yeah, the Lander had a different species of cardboard. It was probably made at a different factory. Did you cut it in the same room? What was the temperature of the room? How was the Lander had a factory edge, or did you sharpen it? I don't know. I don't remember that video, but there's just so many things that it's like, okay, why did it do better? This car is freaking fast today. I just did 4 tires and fuel and shot up the first place like that.
So, yeah, it's just context with editing. Things get cut out just for time or whatever other reason. And yeah, it does seem like things get skewed, but I assure you, I had no dog in the fight. I didn't
So
care.
where I'm at right now, a little bit more than halfway with this video, is this is a defense video. This is a video of either trying to hold and mend a relationship with Benchmade and also defending what you did in the video. And you opened this video up saying you wanted to start a conversation. And I stand 10 toes down with what I said earlier, which is if you're not in the comments responding to a ton of people, why didn't you do this as a live stream? Because if you were in the comments for the first day or for the first couple of hours, which admittedly, that's what I do. When I post videos, I'm in the comments like strong the first day, and then I got a family. I'm doing other shit. But that I don't do conversations in videos. I do conversations in live streams. So I'm leaning more towards this is a defense video and or mending a relationship with Benchmade. Because I mean, if I was Benchmade, I wouldn't have liked that shit either. Like you took our knife, which is 7 years old, and we have since replaced it with different designed items that will be better suited for a torture test, like the tagged out or the mini Adamas or whatever. And you did all this stuff with it. Yeah, I would send you a little DM or email as well. I can understand that. 100%.
Care what happened to the bug out, and if I did, we certainly wouldn't have published the knife snapping in half. And back to the testing of sharpness, that one's on us. I've always tested with the string that you tension yourself, and the problem with that is that that's a variable, right? You're never going to get consistent results with something that I'm tensioning myself. I can do my best to
I agree with that. I don't even know how to do that test. I seen you do it, and I was like, where did he buy this crap from?
try and get about the same tension every time, but there's going to be a variable there. So moving forward, I think, do we have them in the box over there? So instead of using this, which you have to remove this string, loosen this, pull this string, put it through here, tighten this down.
It's a lot of work. Self-tensioning.
And then tension it underneath this. You have to put your own tension on it and tighten this down. So you'd have to do that exactly perfect every single time for the results to be consistent.
And I can see that as being difficult, but this isn't scientific, so why not just keep doing that?
Instead, we had these, I just never used them, but people suggested we use these. These are...
So you said we have these, I just never used them. When did you have them? Did you have them before the video? This is another point of contention I might have if I were Benchmade. You have these, we just never use them? Or did you say we have, or did you differently mean to say we have since acquired these and I have yet to use them? Because if I'm like Benchmade, I'm like, hold up, wait. So you mean to tell me you did a cut test with a self-tensioning thread when you had a more controlled variable laying in the back? Yeah, that might have been something I would have brought up too.
Pre-tensioned cut test. It's the same material. It's just pre-tensioned. So they all have the exact same tension on them, which means you're going to get consistent results throughout all of your tests. And that's why we were running so many of the sharpness tests, is because we were getting weird results. Like results where the knife seemed sharper after we cut a whole bunch of crap with it. That didn't seem right, so we ran it again.
And this is the only thing, like I say, contentious was is like you're running it again because the results seem weird. You know, these tests are for fun and shits and giggles. Don't run it again. You know, until it can be more controlled and scientific. I think I would also have a bone to pick with the way that you're running it again arbitrarily, unless that's just what you always do. Hey, we run this 10 times, whatever. So what?
Yeah, I think the results were okay. We're not being super scientific anyway. I think they were close enough for us to determine S30V had better edge retention than D2.
Yeah, I think like Dr. Loren Thomas, is that his name? I think he tested that years ago when S30V was hot on the streets. And, but a lot of Crucible steel, I mean, D2, like I would say that even Benchmade's D2 might be better than some other companies' S30V. It just depends on the heat treatment. So overall, does it have it? Yeah, it does. But, you know, I have a Gerber Fast Tanto Auto, which is S30V, that I got in 2010 when S30V was just like this blimp on the map that was not really in civilians' pockets. I got it when I was still active duty. And it would be argued to say that Benchmade's D2 in 2024 might have a better heat treatment than my 2010 S30V Gerber Fast Tanto Auto. Things change. So that's why you need a big control for that type of stuff.
That's probably not a surprise to much of anybody either. It's totally fine. D2, you've always known that you got to touch it up a little bit more than, say, a modern Super Steel or even some of the older ones like S30V, S35VN. You know, the point is, D2 is a little softer. You're probably going to have to sharpen it more. We just wanted to see. We didn't test it, I think, thoroughly enough with cuts and everything. So all those results are kind of...
I think overall for your testing, this is just my... we're going to finish the video, but I think that as I'm listening to you, these tests need to be presented. You have to go one or two ways heavy on this, okay? You need to lean either heavy on this is fun, shits and giggles. Me and Pretty Ricky are out here laughing like schoolgirls having a good old time, and if it blows our skirt up, we're gonna post it. Or you need to lean heavy and the camera's on a tripod. Pretty Ricky is my lab partner, and we have a bunch of control tests that we're about to do. Ready, set, go. And you're trying to get your work possibly published in different magazines or in different articles, or being respected by scientists who look at the molecular structure of steel. You got to go one or two ways, because having some tests were more scientific than others, I don't know why that would be mixed in the same video. It almost doesn't make a lot of sense.
And a moot, but both knives did fine anyway. Moving on. Addressing some of the things I think we could do a little bit better next time, or maybe we didn't do well enough this time. Number one is safety.
Yeah, that's the that is the first thing I noticed, is like straight up safety. Because I saw when you snap the and I'm guilty of this as well, Taylor. When you snap the Benchmade in half, you were doing that the old squint safety, when you squint your eyes as if your eyelids are safety for a piece of flying S30V or Grivery flying through the air at full speed. So yeah, I think safety goggles are a must. I'm curious to know if those boots you were wearing were steel toe. Come on, Bowman. Come on, Bowman. Give me the space.
It wasn't until like the third drop test with the knives open that I realized I was dropping them within like an inch or two of my toes. Probably not the smartest idea, especially without steel toes on.
There you go. Even with steel toes, you can miss the steel toe part and still stab yourself. So
be a little safer there, but especially with bending the bug out. I did not...
Right there. Look at his face. That's the old, listen, there's been times I've used my grinder, which is the dumbest thing ever. Okay. My wired wheel grinder, Black & Decker grinder that's missing the shield that I got from a estate sale that came from 1984. My car's slowing down. What's going on? Like that. I've used that without the old face iPro. Okay. So I get it. Yeah. Next time, no, I would agree. We might want to go ahead and get you some iPro.
expect this knife to snap in half. I've always wondered.
I mean, but what would you expect to happen? Come on, I got to call cap on that one. You're bending a article of material between your hands, sir. You lift weights. It's apparent. I can see it on the goddamn video. What did you expect to happen with Grivery? This is not aluminium that you're holding. This is not titanium that you're holding. You're not messing with carbon fiber. You're messing with the 2017 designed Grivery Benchmade bug out. Like, I would expect, just like the thumbnail of this video, when I would expect that there's a possibility that I need to throw something on my freaking grape to protect myself.
Intrusive thoughts took over. I tried it, and then it snapped, and then I see a blade spinning down.
I can't remember. Did he also try to? He did try to bend the Ozark, right? I can't remember.
Towards my feet. Again, not the smartest. There are definitely some things we could do to worry about our safety a little bit better. And there were actually some really good suggestions from you guys in the comments for things we could do that would make it better for the testing, like more efficient or more repeatable
and scientific,
and then also safer for us. Obviously, safety glasses and different personal protection. But yeah, there are other tests, like instead of us driving the knife into plywood and torquing on it, maybe put it in a vise and torque on it. You know, there are definitely.
That's good. That's actually a good idea. Especially, like I said, plywood has different treatment. How long was it dried out? Is it the same? You know, the density of dry or plywood is not the same throughout the entire plywood. So I could that's a better control. I like that.
Some other things that we could do to be a little safer with the videos. The other thing I think we could do a little bit better is show the knives in real time a little bit better than we did. For example, a lot of comments pointed out that the bug out broke and the Ozark Trail didn't. That's technically true. The tip broke.
Now, to be fair,
and the bug out.
The Ozark or the Benchmade broke, but the blade didn't break. Blade looks great. Could you not buy like everything from Benchmade and just put it back together? I'm more impressed that the blade's fine. I don't know. That's just me.
Is technically in two pieces now in a way that makes it unusable.
It's still usable. Listen, I did a survival video of 5 ways that a watch can save your life. One of those ways is breaking the watch and using the glass from the watch and turning it into a knife. You mean to tell me in a survival situation, if you had to pinch grip a piece of sapphire crystal glass from a knife, or excuse me, from a watch, you wouldn't use that in a survival situation? Yeah, that Benchmade bug out that's broken right there is 100% usable. It's just not usable as they intended.
But so is the Ozark Trail. We didn't show this that well at the end, I don't think. We showed it a little bit, but not as in much detail. It bent to a point where it can't close.
Still usable, though. I don't know how that lock is, though. I don't know if I would trust my fingers with that crossbar lock. But if I just need to make a cut and I do a pinch grip, I think I would use it that way.
Right? That's as far as it will close. And I don't trust this lock. Right? You could probably still cut with this if you were in a survival situation.
This is where, what do we think? 6 laps remaining, 8 miles left on my fuel. My front right tire is trash right now. Do I want to win this race? Decisions have to be made. Let's not pit. Let's go for it.
But let me tell you, if you're in a survival situation, you can cut with this too. So if your knife breaks on you in either...
I agree with you. 100%. That little pinch grip you're doing, that's the way to do it.
Of these ways, you're really in about the same situation, except this one can't close and this one's missing half its handle. They both failed, but they both failed doing things that nobody should ever do with their knife.
I concur. So the word failed is it failed your test, it's a true statement. It failed your test, but did they fail in life? I don't think so. Neither one of those knives are the fat girl at prom. Okay. I would take either one of those knives. Ozark Trail, put it in a pretty dress and still rock it out. Benchmade bug out's already in a pretty dress. Take it to Waffle House when I'm done. Neither one of them are the fat bitch at goddamn prom.
Knife anyway. So the point is kind of moot. We were doing it for fun and for laughs.
So if you're doing it for fun and for laughs, why are you trying to make it more scientific from some of the language that I heard you? You didn't use the word scientific, but getting thread that's already pre-tensioned and using a vice grip and why are you doing all that? Why are you making it? Unless you just want to make it better, it's okay to want to improve, but I just want clarity because once again, 20-minute video feels like it's for two reasons: defending what you did and mending a relationship with Benchmade.
And for pure entertainment, not for science. It is important to know that you could break this by hand, but you would have to be completely, like, negligently misusing your knife. One thing we did poorly.
Okay, so negligently misusing your knife. Why did you say earlier you need 4 or 5 of these because this is eventually going to break? That is a direct contradiction 75% later on in the same video. Is this the last lap? I might have to spin this guy out. Like, why would you say that you would need 4 or 5 of them? If you're saying that the only way to really break it would be in a negligent way. I'm confused by that.
Is show the damage or the differences in results up close and in a better light. So we did show that there was some rolling when the blade would interact with the standoff, and we showed a few things, but I think we could have taken a moment to the side and assessed the damage a little bit better and a little more directly so you guys could see. And there were things that were clear to us.
Are you wearing a smartwatch? Did I just see a smartwatch? Come on now, dog. One of my favorite things about you, Taylor, is your love of watches. You and Jeremy Sires, I love it. But come on, man. I know you're real big into working out right now and trying to get on this health kick, man. Get you a smart ring, dog, or get you a Whoop band on your right wrist or something like that. You wear that good old analog watch for the survival situations, man. You never know.
In person that maybe didn't get conveyed in the video that well. Like the rattle when you would close the Ozark Trail.
Fine. Action.
Oh. Is it making a noise?
Yeah, but it's just like, it's the bearing noise.
See, that's the thing, though. That's Peanut Gallery's banter from off camera, right? Pretty Ricky's over there assessing the noise, and it's just like, let that be something you review in the footage and really have a thoughtful take about it. That type of stuff is where you might want to reach out to the company and say, hey, I'm hearing this. What do you think it is, or whatever the case may be?
It's centered again.
Oh, really?
It's centered. Yeah.
Did you bend the blade back?
I don't know, but it's centered.
That's great.
There's a lot of blade play now.
Oh, yeah. It sounds loose.
Yeah.
Like, from all the way over here, I can hear it.
This one's fine and centered.
I think we definitely could have done a better job showing the damage in real time and talking about it a little bit more closely. The worst
I can agree with that.
thing is that we wrapped it up really quickly. I didn't take any time away from what had just happened to gather my thoughts and talk about the results.
Okay, here's the part where I think I could systematically agree with you. You said that basically at the end, I think you did your last test. I think you peeled your glove off and instantly was like, I recommend the Hogue Deca. And it was just so much meat left on the bone. I was wondering, like, did he run it through the same test? Why does he say that? Why the declarative statement? Like, I had a lot of different questions about that as well, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Obviously, they're both kind of useless knives now, and they're going to be really good for a wall behind us, but I didn't take some time, even just 5 minutes, 10 minutes to gather my thoughts and talk about what happened or what I would recommend. Anything, nothing, no takeaways. I just, off the cuff, immediately after I snapped that in half, just started talking. Because that's
what we do. That's what I would defend you on this one. That's what, you two, sometimes you're just like, all right, so now that I'm done, time to shit on what I just reviewed.
What I'm used to, off the cuff. And yeah, I think we could have come up with some better closing thoughts, like suggesting things like the Yonder and some other budget-friendly knives over even the Hogue Deca. Somebody suggested that we do this with the Hogue Deca. I think that's a great idea.
It is a great idea, especially because you declaratively recommended it at the end of the video. And now that you just answered my question, which is, did he do the same testing with the Hogue Deca that he just did with these two knives?
I think it's a great idea for us to do a lot of this with a lot of other knives because it's fun. You guys seem to really enjoy it, even though you guys really seem to dislike Benchmade. That's fine. And
that's just like I say, this is commenters, okay? Benchmade's a private company. But I would to guess if they were public and they had to disclose their sales, they would be shitting on other companies. They would be shitting on other companies. It is the world of online, whether Reddits and subreddits or forum postings on everydaycarry.com or comments on YouTube videos. Those are the people who vocally do not like Benchmade. But if you overwhelmingly look at the reviews on Blade HQ, on GP Knives, on Amazon, they severely outpace the negative comments that you see on articles, on forums, on YouTube videos. And I would argue to say, if we could know who was, the best selling knives, it probably would be some type of Benchmade in the top 5 year after year. Look at places that are not deep in the world of everyday carry, such as Forbes or NewYorkTimes.com or CNN.com. Those places have reporters and journalists whose job it is to do a top 5 list every year. Those guys all the time list the bug out as the best one. You don't think that those people who are just regularly reading the Wall Street Journal, reading Forbes, say, oh, once again, it's the bug out. I'm going to get one of those this year. You don't think that happens? It happens all the time. So I just wouldn't overly worry about the comments because it's obvious that Benchmade knows what they're doing. So it is what it is.
Really love this knife, even though it failed also. Like both of these, if I were to give them a grade, would be a fail. You cannot carry this knife
A fail
anymore.
for your test, maybe not a fail for life. Okay. A fail for your test. I don't know about a fail for like a knife, like the general purpose. Like I say, if you had salient characteristics, would these knives be a fail? I would argue no. You don't have salient characteristics. Okay.
You can't close it. You can't carry it. And you're not going to fix it. It's a $10 knife. You're going to go to replace it. This one, you may be able to replace it. I don't think you can buy liners, but it doesn't matter. It's broken.
You can't buy liners, but you could send it into Benchmade and just pay them. If you sent that knife into Benchmade and they authenticated that it was their knife, they would put that blade in a new housing. They would just charge you for it. Like you wouldn't be able to fix it yourself, but it's fixable. Yes, it is fixable.
Failed the test as well. The main difference here is that this is a $10 knife, and you could get 18 of them for the price of this one. But the difference is that this was made to be a cheap knife that everybody wants to buy. And I think they knocked that out of the park. This is an American-made knife that was meant to be light duty, and I think it serves its job for that, but it is a lot more expensive. It's also American-made. American-made goods are going to be more expensive.
I agree with that.
And if you want to support American companies, you're going to have to be okay spending a little bit more money. Do I like the fact that this one was 115 when it came out and now it's 180? Absolutely not.
But it's time for me to defend it. Here it is. This is where I come with the expertise a little bit, okay? I understand you not liking it, but let me tell you why it does exist. First off, when the knife came out, I think it MSRP'd at 135, not 115. I think you could pre-order it for 115, but that's tomato. I think, let's just say you're right about that because I think you may be. So that same year, the Benchmade bug out came out, Fox Knives dropped a knife, and also the Spyderco paramilitary or Para 3 came out the same year. And all those knives have also raised their prices at or near the same percentage as the Benchmade bug out. The Para 3 came out at a lower price than what it now costs in 2024. That same Fox knife that came out in the same percentage increase has happened to that knife as well. If we want to keep it only in the world of American made, not the Fox knife, because that's made in Italy, we can just go apples and apples with the Spyderco. Both made in America specifically for these models. Both of them have increased 45% at a minimum, almost 45% at a minimum of their cost. That has to do with the natural rise of inflation, right? And the cost of goods sold and keeping cheeks in the seats in an American-made factory. So we may not like the price increase, but why are we comparing the price increase without looking at inflation and looking at variables overall? For instance, the cost of titanium alloy has risen every single year consistently. I oftentimes work with the company, well, I won't mention the companies. I don't want to disclose that type of stuff, but I work with companies that work on high-end stuff, parts with vehicles and stuff like that. And their prices increase just like the Benchmade bug out prices increase when the cost of goods sold increase. So we just kind of got to get used to it. Some of these companies just eat it. CJRBs of the world, Civivis of the world, those Chinese knives, they just eat it. They pump out so much, they sell so much, they don't care. Their prices are not increasing because they'll discontinue the knife before they just let the price slowly creep up. You ever notice that? You ever notice that Kubi or Civivi or Kaiser or We Knife discontinues a knife before they just let it sit on the market for 10 years and the price increase? Because you know what happens? If Civivi Elementum version 1 was still available in its same exact iteration it came out with years ago, the price would be higher and we would notice that. But they released the button lock, they released the mini, they released V2, they released a different color, they distract you, and then they discontinue the OG, and it just feels like you're always getting a good deal. Benchmade doesn't do that. Yeah, the bug out was the Benchmade bug out literally stood on its own from 2017 until 2019 when they finally released the mini bug out. So for 2 years, the price slowly increased. If that was Civivi or We Knife, they would have discontinued the bug out. They're not going to just let it sit there and you notice that the price increased. They're not going to let that happen. So I agree with you. I don't like it, but I think you need to give viewers more context of why it's happening, if that makes sense.
I don't like that, but it's the fact of life. Things are more expensive now. Love or hate it, that's a fact. Also, when it comes to this one snapping...
He just said what I said. Things are more expensive now without breaking it all the way down, which is what I do on my job.
In half, there are other bug outs.
Okay, so there you go. This is how I know. This is why I have the opinion that he did this to mend the relationship with Benchmade. This is why I have the opinion that he did this to mend the relationship with Benchmade. Because this Benchmade bug out has aluminum scales which are anodized to be brass. It just dropped last week. Like pre-orders, I don't even think you can pre-order. I think it dropped and you can just start ordering it. They sent, I don't know if he's about to disclose it. I hope that he does. They had to have sent him this knife. Or was he first on their side or first at Cabela's buying the knife? And full disclosure, also, Benchmade's supposed to be sending me one of these knives. I don't know if they do, they don't. It's not, I will be appreciative if they send it, but I like to just do those full disclosures, which I'm hoping he does here in a second. But this is also an indicator to me that it's mending a relationship. Because when you say the Grivery knife bent, but here's an aluminum one and this one would never bend, and it's the brand new one, it's different if you had the aluminum version that I have sitting over there, which is the silver one that looks like the sun, which is also M390, which I've had for 2 years. It would be different if you pulled that out at the end of the video and said this one has a lower likelihood to bend, but you pulled out the brand new one. It just dropped literal days ago. So that almost solidifies in my mind that this video is for mending a relationship, but maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You're messing on my qualifying, bro. Messing up my qualifying. Let me get back to, let me resume. But anyway, yeah, that's what I think. I think that there's a likelihood that you did this for the mending of the relationship.
That would not. This is the...
I mean, look how sexy that thing is. That anodized aluminum looks really good. What they did, this burnt brass look on it. And then they dropped the M390 on it again, which I pulled my M390 aluminum bug out the other day and used it. I forgot how much I love the action on it. It's like the Axis lock on steroids.
Newest one that came out this week, I believe. It's got aluminum.
So when you say this week, I believe, is another indicator they sent it to you. Because when I buy some shit, I know exactly when it dropped. Like when I buy some stuff, I know exactly when that shit dropped. Like, yeah, this dropped last week, man. I had to wait in line. I waited all night. I bought it. Yeah, I bought it at Cabela's, blah, 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 blah.
As handles, it's not going to snap in half. I might break the blade, but I highly doubt it. Very, very doubtful. But they also have a titanium one, carbon fiber. I don't think any of those would break either. You can get Flytanium scales for it. You can get this knife.
Do they have this in titanium? My bad, I'm fucking up my qualifying. Let me forfeit qualifying. Do they have this in titanium? Like, does Benchmade organically sell the bug out in titanium, or do you have to get the titanium scales? I don't know. I need to look into that. That's interesting. I don't know.
And carry it for a long time. Customize it.
Texas Motor Speedway. This is a speedway I go to twice a year. This is a big speedway where you got a freaking bump draft. It's not as bad as Talladega or the Coca-Cola 600 Charlotte, but you still need to draft at this track.
Make it yours. This knife is only ever going to be this knife right here. There's nothing wrong with either of those. If you like American-made knives, support an American-made company. You're going to spend some more money. If you want something cheap, disposable, it's going to break, you have 6 of them, get the Ozark
Once again on this 6 thing. Okay, I got you.
Trail. It's totally fine. But again, my recommendation would probably go with something like a Yonder or something in that realm. If you are budget conscious.
Has the Yonder came out yet?
And you want something that's durable, you want like the best of both worlds. Civivi, Kaiser, they all these other companies have knives in that $50, $60 range. They're not going to snap. They're not going to break.
Oh my God, that CJRB Pyrite Light, #bars, $30. That thing is still impressing me. Let me tell you something. I took this CJRB Hector to Juve yesterday, and I had to do a bunch of cuts on the bed of my truck because a lot of ladies like to put those little jewels on their face when they go to carnivals and Carnival and Juve. And so those things come in plastic, and you have to either have a pair of scissors or you have to do utility cuts. A utility cut is when you put an object on a surface and cut into it. Oh my God, the CJRB is just making that stuff precision cuts, pinch grip all day. I love it.
Break easily, and they're going
$29.99.
to be good quality. But again, if you want to support American, you're going to have to pay for it. That's just what it is. So love or hate it, that's where we're at. I think both knives failed, but also we were doing stuff we shouldn't do with a knife.
That was a quick cut. I think both knives failed, but we were also doing stuff that we're just, hold on, let me go back a little bit. He said, listen to this jump cut real quick.
You're going to have to pay for it. That's just what it is. So love or hate it, that's where we're at. I think both knives failed, but also we were.
Yeah, that was a jump cut. Pretty Ricky zoomed in on purpose because I don't know, what did you cut out there? Or what did you fail to put in? I wonder.
Doing stuff we shouldn't do with a knife anyway. So I hope you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. I honestly think that this was a save face defensive video. Unless you were deep in the comments, and I'll take a look and see if you were deep in the comments to say, because you called this a conversation video. I have conversations in live streams. I have conversations in my Discord, which you have a Discord. So, you know, I don't make videos. I don't make evergreen videos, meaning a video that's just going to video on demand videos for conversation starters.
That's it. Let us know in the comments what you think about any of this stuff. If you think I'm still wrong on it, let us know.
I don't think you're wrong on it. I just don't know if I would have made the video.
If you still hate Benchmade, let us know.
I love me some Benchmade. I'm a sheep. I'm not a big fan of some of the lawsuits that they've pursued, but that's kind of outside their knives.
If you still love the Ozark Trail, let us know, but also let us know what you want to see us do in the future next. I mean, we have it right here. In fact, the very next knife that I want to destroy.
Man, you almost made me crash because I want to see it. And you didn't show it. Okay, I got you. Let me see your comments real quick. Let me see your comments because I'm curious. Do you have a ton of, okay, let's see. Responses back. Okay, I see some responses back. I don't see any responses back from you. I want to see responses back from the best damn EDC. I mean, I'm not even seeing you heart comments. And this is me literally critiquing when you say I'm doing this to start a conversation. You hearted this comment, but I had to scroll down, what, 30 comments, 40 comments until I saw a hearted comment. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I had to zoom, it was quite a bit before I saw that.
All right.
Hold on.
We should talk.
Pause that real quick. So, okay. Yeah, this just kind of solidifies. I think this was a defense video. There's a conversation happening in your comments, but you're not a part of it. And so you hearted a message, 30 messages in. And I would have to go back and see what did you do for the very first comments. But my point being is, and you did respond to this one as well. But it says, Benchmade got me to do an apology. It's okay to step outside and breathe fresh air from time to time. He's basically telling this guy to put his phone down on the dresser and go outside and step on green grass. And, you know what I'm saying? That's letting trolls get to you. And the point being is, out of all these comments, you picked to respond to this one because it got under your skin. When someone says that they forced you to do an apology, they may be 100% incorrect because Benchmade didn't force you to do shit. But you did produce a video and you're not commenting on people who are white knighting for you or who are shitting on Benchmade. And I'm going through hundreds of comments here. So I guess my point being is, I don't know the veracity of that. But what do I know? Just some guy on the internet making videos, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think they have exclusives with it. What are you talking about? For with Taylor? You think he has exclusives? Interesting. What do you guys think about that though? Here's the summation I would say about that is first off, Pretty Ricky, fix the banding on the video. But no, in all seriousness, I think that you made that video to defend what you did because it was so well scripted, as in like comments from commenters and justifying your test and things you're going to improve in the future. So it was a mixture of defense, a mixture of taking ideas from your subscribers, which is a great thing to do. But also, I think you were mending that relationship. I do. I think they have exclusives. Okay, that's what you're saying, G-Ball. I see what you're saying. So I can appreciate the fact that you see when there's a threat to your business and you act on it. That's a responsible business owner. It is. Especially when you got employees and stuff. But stand 10 toes down, bro. That's all I got to say. Speaking of 10 toes, I think it's time for me to go 20 toes with Mrs. X. It is after quad 0 here in my neck of the woods. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.